So y'all can tell me if it's just me, but I just been feeling like this entire year I've been finding out that literally everybody hates Black Americans, even Black people all around the world. And no shade, that's probably why our ancestors said all skin folk ain't kinfolk. But at the same time, I feel like the way that people feel about us is the way they should actually feel about white people. Because we didn't do anything to you. We didn't do shit to you. But white people is letting you know they don't fucking like you and they don't want you in their country. That you're mad at us. You got the hostility with us.
You know, Black Americans are the only group that fights back against white supremacy. No other group fights back against white supremacy. Every other group tries to like thread the line and like not say too much. You go through Vivek Ramaswamy's comic section and it's just white people telling him to go back to India, that they don't want him here, calling him a G. You go through FBI Director Kash Patel's comic section on Twitter and it's them doing the same thing, telling him to go back to India. He shouldn't be here. He shouldn't have the job. He's DEI. You know, we're the only, even like the Indians don't fight back, the Hispanics don't fight back, the Asians don't fight back. It's awful to see.
Can we just discuss the hidden animosity the Latino community has with the Black people, bro? Because to be completely honest, my nigga, you would think that being minorities would band us together. But the essays down in San Diego still acting like the Jim Crow laws are still in effect, my nigga. Like, chill.
Let me tell you, here in Texas, the amount of racism I've ever even come close to experiencing from Mexicans, from Spanish people. When I was a dancer, when I was a stripper, every time I would go to the club, the way that the clubs were so racist, there was a time I went to a club out in Texas, and the club told me that, oh, they don't hire girls like me. This is a club full of a bunch of, I would say, illegals, because I'm sure none of them spoke English. None of them spoke English, which I low-key think they was trapping out of there. They was pimping them girls out of there. And they said, oh, they don't take girls like us. We should go down to the club down the street, the Black Club. I just laugh because, let me tell you, karma is beautiful. Karma is beautiful. And you know what's funny? I went by that club a couple days ago. It's empty. It's empty. It's empty. Even though the racism applied to me, I still voted against all this shit. I voted against it. And guess what they did? Voted to hurt me.
Black Americans often feel alone. They look around and see other minority groups distancing themselves and even aligning to whiteness. And it raises a painful question. Why does it feel that everyone else hates us or even doesn't want anything to do with us? And the truth is that this division did not start with Black Americans. It started with colonization and white supremacy, a system designed to pit minority groups against each other while protecting power at the top. And Black Americans have been warning this minorities group for generations that stop firing us, fight the system. But I'm going to explain why these warnings are often ignored. Let's get to see the reactions, then you come back with more commentary, all right?
I have something to say to the Asian community that is anti-Black. How can you be anti-Black when the Black man didn't cause Agent Orange in Vietnam? The Black man didn't bomb Hiroshima or Nagasaki. The Black man didn't put Asian people in concentration camps after Pearl Harbor, and that was about 120,000. And the Black man didn't call COVID the Kung Fu virus. While all of that being anti-Black towards me, you live off of the benefits of the civil rights. The one fucking thing you could say is thank you.
I think the quick answer is that Asian Americans are given white privilege, especially the Asian Americans who fit the model minority stereotype. The quid pro quo for receiving that privilege is upholding white supremacy culture, which means being anti-Black. I was talking with somebody last night who was pointing out that the Civil Rights Amendment was passed in 1964. But also in the 1960s, the United States opened the door to Asian immigration. So now you have an influx of racial minorities who knew nothing about the history of white violence against Black people, knew nothing about the Black civil rights movement. So they arrived with civil rights, not understanding how that came to be. And also it effectively erased the United States' own anti-Asian history, because Asian Americans came in not necessarily knowing about the Chinese Exclusion Act or the internment of Japanese Americans in the United States during World War II. And I think that Asian Americans are used as a buffer between the Black community and the white community, because in the 1960s, there was almost a racial reckoning. The white power structure almost had to face accountability for the history of violence against Black people. But instead, Asian Americans were inserted and were pit against each other, so that we're always up against each other, and that basically like white supremacy escapes accountability. And the example that I think of that sort of started like the root of a lot of tension is Asian Americans were buying into the negative media stereotypes of Black people. And then in the events that led up to what became known as the LA riots, the LAPD kettled protests away from wealthy white neighborhoods and into Koreatown, and then they left. And we know how that played out. So again, the two communities being pitted against each other and away from the white power structure. And obviously the model minority myth is used to oppress the Black community.
Coming from a Hispanic, Puerto Rican and Dominican or whatever, right? Hispanic people, they racist as fuck, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. Hispanic people racist as shit.
And when I say Hispanic people practice racism, this is what I mean. You Hispanic people do not hire Black people. And y'all do this on purpose. That is a racist practice. That's what I talk about racism. I live in Los Angeles. Y'all have every job. Y'all have all the jobs. Y'all have jobs everywhere. The bank, the grocery store, customer service. Y'all have jobs everywhere. Insurance. Y'all have the jobs. Because y'all only hire y'all people. I remember being 18 years old. I was in college at CSUN. I wanted to get a job. I went to go get a job in the pavilions in Sherman Oaks. All Hispanic manager. He said, hey, I usually only hire my people. Mind you, this is 2011. Hey, I usually only hire my own people, but I like you, so I'll hire you. They hired another Hispanic girl the same age as me, whatever. I don't think she was in college, but the same age as me. They moved her up to cashier so fast while I was still pushing carts in the bakery. Then I asked him why. He said, oh, because she got a baby. She got this, that, and the other, whatever. I didn't really care because I knew that wasn't going to be my life anyway. I knew I was going to become a therapist, and I just didn't even give a fuck. But that's the thing. Another story. What is this? 2017 or something like that. Las Vegas. My brother worked at the bank. All Hispanics, right? They unlawfully fired him. The only Black dude there, right? And my brother is not no fucking YN nigga. My brother is a stand-up guy, and he knows how to go to work. He had to hire a lawyer to fight them, won the law case, got his job back, and then quit on them, and then went to get another job because we petty like that. That is what I mean by racist practices.
Caribbean people, yes, unfortunately some Caribbean people are prejudiced and they do discriminate against Black Americans. It just is what it is. I'm gonna tell y'all a quick story time. I was dating this Caribbean guy. I had no idea that he had another woman. A lot of them are womanizers. I had no idea he was seeing somebody else. I didn't know. We were loosely dating, everybody outside, but I entertained. I had friends, but he was the only person that I was like intimate with in the way that we were intimate. I did not know what he had going on. She would call me, harass me, stalk me, and say so many nasty things about Black Americans and tell me my man would never leave me for a Black American woman. You would never be better. You would never measure up to a Caribbean woman. Like, just going in because she thought that she was better. I went to school with Caribbeans that would say their school system was better, their islands was better, the air was better, the water was better, everything was better about their culture. Yeah, while being in a school with Black Americans, while their parents migrated over here and they claimed to give them a better life, but they always highbrowed. I had another Jamaican homegirl that I stopped being friends with because she was so obsessed with white people. Like, literally, she would say she didn't want dark-skinned kids. Another friend that's Caribbean that says she didn't want her daughters or her kids to be as dark as me. And she was not that much lighter than me. Beautiful woman. And I don't talk to the Jamaican one anymore. But my other friends, like, I have Caribbean friends that I absolutely love that, you know, but they have an idea of Black Americans. First of all, they don't like, a lot of them, not all, but some of them don't like being Black. They don't like being dark skinned. They're very colorist. I mean, the bleaching and all of that is very prevalent on a lot of Caribbean islands. Not all, not all, not all. I got to keep saying this because people going to say, not all of us and blah, blah, blah. There's people on here saying Caribbeans are doing better than the Black Americans. There's Caribbeans saying Black Americans don't have any culture while simultaneously cosplaying us. You're in America wearing Black American drip, using the term drip, using our vernacular, wanting to be a rapper, creating hip hop music, while saying we don't have culture, while you're literally consuming it and embodying it. Now they're saying that Juneteenth is not only exclusive to Black Americans and they could play their soca music in New York City and they could do whatever they want. They could do the pasa pasa if they want to because they own New York now. New York is mainly Caribbean. I'm from New York and I'm a Black American. So absolutely, Caribbeans do discriminate and are prejudiced toward Black Americans. Not all, not all, not all, but absolutely, we're not going to pretend like they don't think that they're better. When we see the types of environments and communities that they come from, we've visited their islands, we know the truth, yet they come over here and act like they're just so much better when if it wasn't for us, they wouldn't be able to migrate here. Anyway.
What's your name?
Anand, can I see your ID or something?
I mean, you can call the police or I can call the police. Can I see your ID?
Yeah.
Let me see your ID.
Yeah. Take out your ID and I'll take out my ID.
Let me take out your ID and I'm going to take out my ID.
Okay, let's... Can you get my phone? No, let's call the police. Give me a phone, let's call the police.
I'm in my own neighborhood where I live at, working in my neighborhood by my house, and I have this man asking me, do I live here?
Yes.
And what's your name?
Dude,
I'm going to start a civil lawsuit right now. That's what I'm going to do.
Absolutely. You got to do it, man. But I want
What's your name, man? Because I'm walking in the neighborhood where I live at, and I'm getting harassed.
No, wait. He's unnecessarily playing us.
But we took my car.
Yes. Bring my phone. I don't have my phone. Get my phone.
Come with me and get the phone.
I will. Get my phone. Because this guy will escape otherwise. Get my phone. Get my phone.
Come with me.
Yes.
I don't mind to educate you a little bit further since there's a lot of delulu going on in my comment section when it pertains to Indians. Okay, so if you're new here, my great-grandmother's Kisinga, she had a child with an Asian, thus birthing a whole generation of Asian people, Black Asians, basically, because of her melanin. All right, and the man she married, he wasn't really all that fair-skinned. Anyway, being introduced to Indian culture, and when we try to make these videos and let people know to recognize shade, Black America needs to recognize shade when it comes from an Indian. And when I say Indian, I'm referring to India, not Native American, because some of y'all be confused about that. Anywho, dating, take me for instance, okay? Now, whether you're Kisinga or whatever else you are in India, we get a lot of flack for dating Black Americans. Now, my great-grandmother's people, they're African descendants, so they prefer that I date an African or anybody else in the Black diaspora except a Black American. Indians alike will agree. They don't want any of their great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren dating anybody Black American. You can date anything else, Jamaican, whatever else, just make sure it's not Black American. And we try to tell, they don't want us being friends with y'all, they don't want us interacting with y'all, and we try to tell y'all that, and you get in the comments being delusional, thinking that Indians are your friend. Honey, you don't hear the names that y'all are called. Ask any woman on this app who is estranged from her Indian family because she chose to date a Black American man.
They don't agree with the way we dress. They don't agree with the way we date. They don't agree with any of that. And we come on here, they don't even agree with us having Black American friends. We get on here and try to tell y'all that, and you try to tell us it's something else. Keep thinking that. Like I told y'all, it's 2 young women on this app that tagged me and said that those families, they had children by men whose families tried to take their life for having a child or getting pregnant by one of their sons. If you think that don't happen for real, it does. Get lost in a part of India and you can't speak any language to get your way out that situation. You'll be reminded real quick. They not your friends. Over here, they your friends. Not there. Now you know. Now you know better, you'll do better.
White supremacy is who we're supposed to be fighting. Our main goal, our main enemy in almost every marginalized group, no matter if it's fat, if you're atheist, if you're Black, if you're indigenous, if you're Mexican, if you're Asian, if you're a woman, white supremacy, the patriarchy, the 1% is who we're supposed to be fighting right now. But instead, we are beefing and using their rhetoric online to each other. We are using their talking points without them even being in our comment sections. We need to actually take a deep breath and remember that this is exactly what they want us to be doing. They want us to start picking each other apart, finding out who the fat people are and calling them out and making sure they feel bad about themselves. Also using the slurs that they made up. Who made up the word, the E word? They did, and we're using it.
African immigrants do not view racism the same way as Black Americans because we are looking at it from 2 completely different perspectives. Africans grew up in majority Black nations, with Black culture, Black leadership, and Black everything being the norm on a day-to-day basis. It's not the core part of their identity because everyone is majority Black when they look around. Black is the default. So off rip, they are not looking at things through a racial lens. But Black people in America look at everything through a racial lens because we are the minority in a country that was built off of our oppression. And the entire system was designed not only to exclude us, but to capitalize off of that exclusion. So systemic oppression is the struggle that Black Americans are dealing with on the home front. Struggles that people are dealing with in Africa are due to a failing or underdeveloped system. Poverty, corruption, lack of opportunity, economic instability, which is really the legacy of colonialism and neocolonialism. So in their minds, they see America as having a functioning system. They see America as full of opportunity compared to back in Africa. So they come here and they focus on individual advancement, where Black Americans see the system as being historically and currently rigged against us. We are not immigrants. We are people from whom system was explicitly built to oppose. They often see racism as individual prejudice, personal act of meanness or ignorance that can be overcome or ignored on their path to success. Where Black people understand that it is systemically embedded feature of law, institution, and economic that create a barrier far beyond individual prejudice. And I think a lot of the disagreement comes from not understanding what something means to be systemic. When something is systemic, a pattern behavior or a culture that is repetitive that many people are perpetuating. Because there are many people in America who are racist and have anti-Black sentiment, and they encompass various positions and roles in America, it makes racism systemic. The system is not a machine, but the individuals who make up the machine. Since so many people are racist, the issue is systemic. They have embedded personal prejudices into the system. Not only that, are passing down this ideology to their offspring, which makes it more systemic. Anyways, so because of the hurdles that they faced back home, they often see what Black Americans go through as trivial or frivolous or not as hard as compared to what they went through back home. That's where the ideology that Black Americans are lazy comes from, because they face national systemic instability in their homelands. But what they are not understanding is that what Africa is going through is a core function of systemic racism. It is systemic racism on a global scale. Systemic instability for Black Americans is internal. It's redlining, it's mass incarceration, it's police brutality, it's education inequity. But for Africa, it's the deliberate underdevelopment of the entire continent that is primarily populated by black people. It's the European powers carving up the continent with no regards for ethnic, linguistic, or cultural boundaries, and the creation of artificial nations primed for internal conflict. It's the exploitation used by Western corporations and financial institutions like IMF and the World Bank, pillaging resources and dictating economic policy through debt. This is economic racism on a global scale. The ideology that justified slavery in America, the belief in white supremacy, and the inferiority of black people is the exact same ideology that justified the colonization of Africa. Africans say, I came over here and succeeded, why can't you? They are comparing overcoming poverty caused by global anti-racism, anti-Blackness, i.e. colonialism, to the Black American experience of overcoming poverty by domestic anti-Black racism. We are battling the monsters created by the same beast, white supremacy. One monster was unleashed abroad to destabilize and plunder nations. The other was built at home to control and exploit the population. Defeating one does not mean the other does not exist. It just means you're fighting in a different arena.
Colonization did not steal land and labor. It rewired minds. When Europeans colonized Africa, Asia, the Caribbean, and the Latin America, they didn't rule by numbers. They ruled by hierarchy. They created a racial ladder with whiteness at the top and blackness at the bottom. Many non-black minority groups were conditioned to believe that the closer you are to whiteness, the safer you are. The colonizers rewarded proximity to whiteness with better jobs, lighter punishment, access to education, and even sometimes legal status. At the same time, black people, especially black Americans, were positioned as permanent outsiders, the group that is acceptable to exploit, dehumanize, and blame. And this conditioning did not disappear when colonization formally ended. It evolved. You see, in many countries, anti-blackness was baked in school systems, media, religion, immigration policies, and even beauty standards. Children grew up knowing that blackness meant danger, laziness, criminality, and even failure, while whiteness meant order, success, and humanity. So when immigrants and other minority groups, when they arrive in America, they arrive carrying that programming. And this is where the divides even deepens. Black Americans have never fought for proximity to whiteness, from slavery to Jim Crow to civil rights to today. Black Americans have consistently challenged the entire system, and that makes them uniquely threatening to that system. Other minority groups, on the other hand, they are often encouraged both by society and by their own communities to keep their heads up, to work hard, to assimilate, and avoid being associated with blackness. And black Americans, they warn them about aligning to whiteness, and they tell them that the system will always come for you too, because they know how it works. For instance, Asian Americans were praised as a model minority until they weren't. Latinos, they were told they could be accepted until immigration crackdown hits. Muslims were tolerated until 9/11. Africans and the Caribbeans are welcomed until anti-black racism reminds them that they are still black, you see? So white supremacy does not protect loyalty, it only protects power. And the black Americans, they only ask for solidarity, They tell them, if you unite, the system will lose its strongest weapon, you see? But the minorities, they believe that anti-blackness is a survival strategy, while in reality, it is a trap. And that's how black Americans often stand alone, are calling out racism, are protesting injustice, are demanding systematic change, while others distance themselves, But here is the truth. Every gain made by Black Americans eventually benefits other groups. You see, civil rights laws, labor protections, voting rights, anti-discrimination policies, cultural shifts, They do not fight white supremacy just for themselves. They fight for everyone trapped under it. And the real question is, how long will these minority groups keep believing that proximity to whiteness equals safety when history has shown it never does? So I hope minority groups are learning something here. So thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.